Hello and welcome to Grand Prix Minneapolis. I'm Jacob Van Lunen and I'm here with Nicholas Heel. And we've got an exciting deck tech for you guys. Nick brought a mono red deck to the Grand Prix this weekend, and it's got some interesting cards in it. This is not a burn deck. Now, why don't you start telling us a little bit about the one drops in your deck? What really, makes your deck go?
Well, so I can actually start talking about how I designed the deck in person.
Yeah, that's great.
So there are three basic ways we can design a Magic deck. Where one, you have an idea, you build around a card that's cool. You see that a lot in Standard. And two, you look at that list online, you look at it, you're like, oh, I like all those cards. You tweak a little bit. Three, you go to history and you dredge up something from the old archives. This is pretty much a red deck circa 2000.
Yes,
it's just
very
updated.
much so.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's not your average burn deck.
And now, probably the most exciting card here is Eidolon of Great Revel.
Yeah.
Now, that's a card, like this morning, Marshall was asking me, what cards from Journey into Nyx are you expecting to see this weekend? And I couldn't think of any.
Yeah.
Really, I was just drawing a blank. I was like, I don't know if Journey into Nyx is going to affect Modern at all.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching the feature match, and you just... Ifro was forced to use spot removal spells on every single Eidolon.
Yeah.
He was dealing himself damage. They were absurd.
Yeah. So again, this card is Pyrostatic Pillar, pretty much on legs. So it's just that. It's that good. As soon as you take out the clause that makes it not be able to attack, suddenly you can just play it against everything. Because it's a creature, attacks and blocks.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to do is 20 damage, or in certain matchups more, Malera Pod. But yeah.
And then Pyrostatic Pillar, it was one of the most important sideboard cards in the extended format for a very long time, and now we have access to this, which, as you said, it can attack.
Yeah.
So that gives us, this thing that we can main deck that's so strong against a format where everybody's playing all these 1 and 2 and 3 drops, and it's just going to crush people when you have all of this burn. You can just finish them off.
I agree. I would expect to see this card in Legacy a lot too, because if you go back there, suddenly, people are playing all these crazy 1-drops and crazy cantrips, and suddenly they run out of time.
Yeah, it definitely shortens the clock a lot. Every time I've seen you play it, it's been
phenomenal.
Very, very powerful.
Because again, when you're a red deck, you like being able to play under this kind of effect. Because again, like Searing Blaze, it's 3 for 2, so you do 3 to them, 2 to yourself, whatever.
Yeah, and that's obviously fine, to be flame rifting when you're a red deck. It's not the worst thing in the world. So then your deck has a lot of 1-drops here, and these are all really powerful cards. Like you have 4 Goblin Guide, and it's a really obvious choice. You have 2 power haste creature for 1 mana in a red deck. Like you can't really do much better than that.
Yeah.
Then the other ones, I think each of them deserve a little bit of explaining.
Okay. All right. So Vexing Devil, the reason why there's Vexing Devil in the deck is because you have to make a concession to the format. People are going to try to do unfair things. People are going to try to, ad nauseum you. People are going to try to, grape shot you to oblivion. So you have to try to kill them on turn 3. So how do you really do that? Well, you try to deal them 20 damage as fast as possible. So this, on turn 1, does 6 damage. This does 4 damage on every turn of the game. And again, you just try to get critical mass of spells to eventually finish it off with some burn spells.
And from the looks of this deck, it seems like it averages a turn 4 kill with relative consistency, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, again, Modern's a turn 4 format, so I got to make my red deck be turn 4.
Yeah, then we also have Mog Fanatic.
Yeah, oh, Mr. Fantastic.
Here's a card that, I haven't seen this since Damage went on the stack,
I feel like that people really relegated Mog Fanatic to being terrible since he can't really trade up. But honestly, all he really was doing was blocking their big dumb green creature and then wanting them so you could draw another burn spell. Also, in this format in general, with Clear Twin being a deck, Mog Fanatic shuts off Pestilence all by itself and allows your bolts to trade up against a Seabrax art.
Yeah, it also, it can put these pod decks off kilter a lot just by taking out, Noble Hierarch, a bird, a key turn. Yeah. It seems like a pretty good choice this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
There's Vendilion Clicks, everybody's got something with 1 toughness.
Yeah, and even then, there was a match earlier today where Mog Fanatic did 5 damage by attacking because my opponent refused to bolt it. So I was playing against Blue White Red, and he just was like, bolt me, Snapcaster, bolt you. And I was like, all right, keep chugging along.
And sometimes you just get there because people don't respect the card. They think, it's an irrelevant amount of damage.
Yeah.
Then we have Grim Lavamancer. Now, this is a great card.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Grim Lavamancer, but in the burn decks we've been seeing in the modern format, they're usually not including all these creatures. They're usually, they have Goblin Guide, they might have Spark Elemental or something, but they're just a pile of burn spells. Now, you have Grim Lavamancer because you have all these creatures. So you can really like control the board. I was watching you playing in Zoo, and you were just beating them legitimately.
Yeah. You just sort of so like the step one for this plan is to put all of your opponent's creatures in the graveyard and then kill them eventually. You don't really have to kill them on turn 4. It's just nice to be able to do that sometimes when it comes to it. Grim Lavamancer really allows you to get extra value out of your spells.
You know, Searing Blaze.
Yeah, Searing Blaze too. It's an all-star.
Absurd burn spell. I mean, when you're playing against these decks that have creatures, like you're dealing 3 to them. You're dealing 3 to their guy, killing one of their guys. So you're basically getting a free card.
It's just a lot of incidental damage.
Yeah.
And eventually it all adds up.
And now, Rift Bolt and Lightning Bolt are both obvious choices here. You're spending 1 red mana, and you're getting 3 damage.
Exactly. Now, Rift Bolt's actually an interesting one, because pretty much in this deck, there are 8 flex slots that really depend on the metagame. And the flex slots I have right now for this tournament are Rift Bolt and Molten Rain.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I have Molten Rain is because Blue-White Red control is really bad. Turns out, Lightning Helix plus Snapcaster Mage is just terrible. Like, all my creatures go away, they're at like 25, and I just can't really get anything away. Molten Rains help you keep them off kilter enough so that you can actually win a game of Magic. And Rift Bolt, for this one, I expected there to be a lot of Twin, and while it's not particularly good against Twin, it allows you to put the pressure on that you really need to beat the Twin deck. Because if you give the Twin deck enough time, then eventually they're going to kill you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an
efficient card,
And it's also, it's nice with Shrine also. Because
there are a bunch of little incidental synergies.
Get a little bit of free value there.
Yeah.
Now, Shrine of Burning Rage is a pretty exciting card.
Yeah.
Now, I remember playing Standard, playing Blue-Black Control, and when my opponent played Shrine of Burning Rage on turn 2 in game 1, I lost the game. That was it. The game was over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this card is a card that it really inspires fear in my heart.
Yeah.
And when I saw you play this card against Ifro earlier today, I thought to myself, well, why has nobody put that in their sideboard? Why is nobody playing any number of that card? And I saw you were playing 2 main, and it was pretty exciting. So how's this card been for you?
I mean, it's been amazing. So I've had a lot of success with Shrine in Modern. I've actually won a PTQ a couple of years ago with pretty much this exact same deck. I mean, these were Stormblood Berserkers, there were Color Marauders floating around. But the thing about Shrine is that it puts an end to the game. It forces your opponent to have to deal with you, or they're just going to die to it. And every one of your spells suddenly just gets an extra damage. And then all the incidental damage just adds up. I guess that's really what it is. It's just a bunch of incidental damage that eventually coalesces.
Fork Bolt is another interesting choice. Now, there are a lot of different options. This card could be any number of things. You could be doming them for more damage. You could be, removing a creature of theirs from the game with something like Pillar of Flame, so that maybe you could get Kitchen Finks off the table. What is it about Forked Bolt that really makes it the best choice for this slot here?
It's because you really want 6 1-mana removal spells so you can deal with all of Melaripod's mana dorks. And Forked Bolt's just the best one. There's also a bunch of situations where you can set up where it's an actual just 2-for-1. You Lavamancer your Kitchen Finks once, then you kill their birds and your Persistent Kitchen Finks.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. It just seems great. Your deck seems to crush decks that are relying on creatures to accelerate their mana. I think that this is one of the few burn decks I've seen that can.
You said burn decks.
Well, red decks. You're playing burn.
Sorry,
Come on.
We're sitting in front of Adrian Sullivan. He's been playing red decks since before I was born, pretty much.
This deck, though, legitimately has a strong matchup against these green decks that are casting Kitchen Finks, and that's a hard thing to do.
So the thing about Kitchen Finks is the first one, it's not really anything. The second one, it's a little annoying. The third one, it's like just knocking it away. It's not because of the 2 life. It's because you have to kill it 6 times. It just because in those matchups, eventually what it turns into is just a resource trade. So all these cards are just meant to maximize the amount of resources. Since I'm playing less land in them, I'll eventually draw more cards in them, be able to, maybe...
And maybe a Shrine can just help you go over the top and get there. Yeah, something like that. And, I mean, you can also just beat them because they're playing more expensive spells, and you have a lot of ways to kill their mana guys, and you have Molten Rains to, just...
Yeah, sometimes you go 1-drop, 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 Storm Rain you.
That's pretty good.
Historically pretty good, too.
Now, Keldon Megalith, pretty good land.
Keldon Megalith.
Now, for those of you at home who haven't seen Keldon Megalith before, Keldon Megalith, it's a land, it comes into play tapped, which can be a little awkward with all of these 1-drops and 2-drops. But once you're Hellbent, which this deck gets Hellbent very quickly, you can start pinging things with your land, which is a pretty powerful effect because it's really hard for players to interact with that, and it kind of gives you an inevitability that other red decks don't have access to.
Also, the most important part is it allows you to cheat on your land count a little bit. Because statistically speaking, in order to draw 3 lands in the top 10 cards, it's only 18 lands. But you always want to play a little extra to pad that in. So we really want to play is like 19 and a half. And this is pretty much half a land and half a spell.
So you get to play 20 lands,
Yeah,
and then
and
20 spells.
you
or
play
40
21.
spells, and then
Yeah, you have to play 21 spells. And I mean, hey, like, again, the Megaliths does work. Look at like all the X ones in the format. You can just actually just like kill. Like this, the main reason why. So out of like the 3 boogeymen of the format, Twin, Affinity, and Malaripod. Affinity's a buy. Malaripod's die roll dependent, and Twin's also very favorable. Yeah, and a big part is that like you have Mog Fanatic and Megaliths, which just match up favorably against their threats.
yeah, and makes a lot of sense to me. Well, for Nicholas Heel, I'm Jacob Van Lunen. This has been Nicholas Heel's red aggro deck. He won a PTQ with this deck.
Yeah.
This deck is now 7-1 in this event, and it's a pretty innovative list. It was really exciting. Every time I've watched him play, he's just demolished people.
Yeah.
So
that's usually how red decks go, though, right?
Yeah, I guess
either
that's
you
true.
get demolished, or you watch them just like get demolished.
So you guys are looking for a good aggro deck.
Yeah, I agree.
This seems like the place to be.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I mean, besides the fetch lands, it's not really that expensive.
Yeah, there you go. It's also pretty budget. Thank you very much, Nicholas. I really appreciate it.